There's a big thing I tell everybody at Navac, and anybody in Navac that's listening is going to laugh at this because they probably know what I'm going to say. Go where you're appreciated, not tolerated,
Yeah.
always. Because that goes for anybody. You're going to go to a customer that appreciates the extra effort you're going to put into, that understands the brand, that actually wants to do business with you.
Hola, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching this live. If you guys join the live chat, I appreciate you guys interacting with me and the guest. If you guys are on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the new channel and help it out. Help the podcast out by wherever you listen to on Spotify, Apple Podcast, making sure you leave a 5-star review, hopefully, and get the podcast out to more people. And I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors that help support the podcast. If you guys are interested in the software that we use to help my business, you can go check out Jobber. If you guys follow the link in the description or go to getjobber.com/reliablehvacr, you will get a free trial and discount and see if it can help you out. I also want to thank VETO Pro Pack, best tool bags out in the market. You guys already know I'm a VETO person. I have a VETO setup for everything in my van. So if you guys want to check out the link in the description, you can go to their website, go see all the bags that they have, go check out my customer profile that's there, and show your support. And I want to thank our newest sponsor, BOSCH. They are changing the game with their inverter heat pumps. BOSCH IDS Lite 15-SEER system has it all, combining quality inverter technology and standard efficiency at an affordable price point. The outdoor unit is available in 24K, 36K, and 60K BTU capacity, and it can be paired with either a wall or ceiling air handler. Gives you plenty of installation options. The BOSCH IDS Lite will be equipped with a low GWP R54B refrigerant by this fall. Visit boschhomecomfort.us to learn more. On today's episode, we have none other than the Navac Cowboy, Brad Adcox. Other than that big, beautiful beard that he has, we have his journey and his stories about being brought up in the trades, but on the manufacturing side, getting into wholesale, supply houses, and then other big brand companies like Supco, Tradefox, Navac, and his experiences along the way, what makes him passionate about the trades, even being on that end of things, and the things to look forward to at Navac, because they got a lot coming out, if you guys didn't know, and they have a giveaway that's currently going on. I'll leave the details in the description and all of that so you guys can go get into that, because if you buy a Navac product, you're entered. So without further ado, let's listen from Brad and enjoy the episode. I know you guys got hit the last time I talked to you.
We did get hit. Actually, my house and my brother's house both got some wind-driven rain, is what insurance calls it. So we had a lot of rain come through just the front doors and the back doors. Enough rain came in to where
You
they
got
pretty much
flooded?
took up all my flooring, all my baseboards. It
Yeah,
was a
man,
lot.
because I was supposed to see you because Ben came down and Navac came down, and then you said you had to. Well, first of all, how's your kid?
My kid's doing good. That was one of those kind of weeks where everything just kind of just it comes in threes. Pow, pow, pow. I was already stressed out about the house. I was
Yeah.
driving an 8-hour drive in a rental car
Uh-huh.
because my truck just it wasn't gonna make it. It was in the shop. So I rented a car.
Oh,
So I was already kind of grumpy being in a car that I wasn't a fan of. And then my wife calls me as I'm pulling into the hotel parking lot. Hey, you know that
yeah.
wood stove you had to have? The kids were playing. He's fine, but he busted his head. Just letting you know. And then she sent me the picture, and I was like, yeah. And I just flipped that car around and drove 8 hours straight back. So I got home and I was a little just over it all. and then you get home, it's supposed to be your sanctuary, and
Yeah.
you come home and the house is just tore up. Uh, for the first part of it, when the house was still drying, the kids and my wife were in the master bedroom, taking the bed, and I slept in my office on a little cot because that was the only other spot that there was room. Could I
Oh,
have fit in
okay.
the bed? Probably, but I'm not going to squish my kids and not let them be comfortable. So I took
Yeah.
the dad way out and slept in the office and just kind of rolled out of the cot to this computer, started working. It's kind of weird for a
Gotcha.
little bit.
Oh, it sounds like a hectic week you had there. No, because you had told me about that. That he busted himself on the stove, and you had to go back, and then the whole thing with the flood. Because we we're down. You're in Dallas or Austin?
I'm right outside of Dallas because you're
Right
what? It's
outside of
like 10
Dallas.
hours from me.
I was gonna say we're quite a ways away because we're down here at the very end of it, you know, by the SPI and everything, the island over here. And we had that hurricane come through, and it just took a quick turn, and it started hitting everybody else up north. So we got a little bit of rain. We didn't get anything crazy, and to hear that, I was like, man, because I got a buddy that lives in Houston, and I was checking in on him. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Because they had tornadoes hit downtown Houston, and I think you said that's what happened over there, right? Tornadoes and rain.
Everywhere. It was just if you take kind of like the perfect storm, kind of you're thinking of watching a Netflix movie. Never in my life did I think I would look out into a Texas pasture. I live on a little bit of acreage, and it's flat. It's Texas. It's flat. So I can see my barn very well. And I had a foot of water from my back door to my barn. So I was looking at my cows, just thinking, what do I do? I had a few new babies. I was like, I don't know how to get you guys dry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to do in this situation. We were in a tornado warning that following morning when I got home. So I put all my kids in the bathroom. And I always put the car seats in the bathroom just because I watch too much TikTok with my wife and they put that in my
Yeah.
head, make sure everything's safe. So they were in there. Me and dad mode was like, I'm smart enough. I got to move a donkey during a tornado warning. So I had to go move a donkey out of the water to a little bit of a drier pasture. And I've never been in that kind of wind in my life. I was thinking this is probably the dumbest idea I've ever had. That I'm gonna get blown away because I'm holding a donkey. And then I got inside and I was like, yeah, we're gonna stay inside for the rest of this.
Yeah.
So
Was
we got
it?
hit pretty good, but
Did you? Do you guys get that often, or how is it up there? Or was that
I've been in.
a rare occurrence?
So I've been in this area of Texas for the last about 10 years. And it seems like we get these freak winters and then we get these freak storms, but they weren't so frequent. But the last couple of years, seems like since I became a homeowner, these storms really just started coming a lot more. So I think the whole thing with climate change and all of that, there's some truth to it because you're seeing some areas in like the Pacific Northwest seeing temperatures they've never seen. And then
Oh
you
yeah,
have
that's crazy.
places in like Florida that are getting hit with temperatures in the belows they've never seen. New York is not seeing snow for months and months. It's weird. So I think being
Yeah.
the industry we're in, it's going to be
Oh yeah.
interesting seeing the weather
You notice
changing.
it. Yeah, you notice it. And I was gonna say about the whole homeowner thing. I think you notice the storms and the weather, like the damage to roofs and all that. You're worried about it more when you buy a home. I mean, you notice it more because before you're like, oh, we've been through these and whatever, but you don't care because you're renting or you're in an apartment or you're in somebody else's house. It's whatever. But when you're a homeowner, you're like, shit, it's raining too much. What how's my roof? How's my yard? How's this? And then you got a farm and all that to worry about too. Um, it's crazy. But then also, like you said, the HVAC thing. Ever since I got into HVAC, now I think about the weather. I think about the hottest time of the day. I think about like seasons, all this stuff that I never
Exactly.
thought about before. And I find it interesting because I'll ask people like, how's the weather, where you're at, because I'm interested like what it is in Texas versus like other places. And Here, like I feel like we got a break this year a little bit because last summer was like intense. It was like 110, 118 like consistently for a couple months. This year we got it really early, like it was in, I want to say like April we got 100 degrees, but it wasn't going up to like 120 or anything. At least not that many days. And yeah, it gets pretty hot.
What the viewers need to remember is Texas is very big. So
Yes,
where
that's what I
you're
tell
at,
people. I'm like, yeah.
that temperature is completely different from Dallas. So for me going outside in Dallas and it being a hot 105 day, I'm like, man, this sucks. But for you going outside, it's like walking outside into an air fryer. It's a
Have
different
you
heat.
have you been down here for like during the summer and stuff?
Oh yeah. So for during my career, what I've done, I've had the state of Texas pretty much for my entire life. So I've seen
Okay.
every corner of it during all the seasons. And
Okay.
as much as I love where you live, because it can be super pretty at times, the weather, no way, dude. Nope. It's
I
I told that
asked,
to
when everybody came down, when Ben came down and everything, that trip that you missed, I asked everybody that I found out was from Texas, right? Because they were from Austin and some of the guys were from Houston. I'm like, hey, how do you feel down here, right? Because I'm like, is it the same? And they're like, hell no, dude. It's like an
no.
oven down here.
There's different heats in Texas. So Dallas is like a smoker heat. It's that slow. If you stay outside too long, it's gonna get you heat.
Yeah.
And then you got Houston. You're just walking out onto hot coals. It's just everything you touch is just hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have where you kind of live, where you walk outside and just breathing in, you can feel that it's hot. It's burning your throat. So
So we got
Texas
we
has
got
its
we got
areas.
slow cooker, we got walking on coals, and then we got oven. I gotcha.
That's the way I'll look at it. I mean, I was born in El Paso, so
Oh,
I was
okay.
born in the desert of Texas. So I get that heat, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay in Dallas. I really like this heat. I can deal with this heat. I don't think
It,
if I the residential guys I think about on a Texas hot day
hey,
in the attics.
I will never do attic work because of that and because of how hot it is down here. But the guys that do it, I
I
admire,
salute them
what
every
they
day.
do. Yeah.
Every day I salute them.
Because when it gets really hot down here, that's the whole thing. Like I have to take breaks because when I'm on the roof, it's hard. Like it's only certain days. It's not every single day, right? It's like when it's at 118 heat advisory that we get and all that. Like I know when we have a heat advisory just by walking outside because like you feel it. And working on the roof and stuff, I'm somebody that pushes through. So like I don't like
Yeah.
because even the other day my dad was like, "Hey, let's all take a break because we're doing a change out," and they were there helping me out to get this like unit lifted up in place and everything. And then, all right, good time for a break. Let's all take a break and this and that. And then like I took like, I don't know, like a 30-second break, and then I started going back to get my line set lined up and everything and bending it and putting it in place. And he's like, "You don't know what a break is, do you?" And I was like, "I just want to finish, right?" But like I have to remember to take those breaks because like on those hot days that we get, I have trouble even breathing just because it's like hot air I'm breathing in, right? And it doesn't feel good. So we do have
Those
those
da-
days.
those days will kill somebody. If people don't get them, especially on a roof, there's
Yeah.
reasons that you people buy the what is it, the Supco MUK. There's reasons there's umbrellas. There's reason people bring big patio furniture. Tonneau
Oh yeah, the
what are they?
pop
Tonneau covers, the camper
pop
shelf looking
ups.
things. The pop-ups
Yeah.
there, there's the word I was looking for. There's reasons those are on the roof.
Yeah, and people recommend those to me all the time, and I'm like, like I don't know if like it's a trouble. It's something else you got to bring on the roof. But I started doing the umbrella thing. My dad would always get us like even like a cheap beach umbrella back before we got the Subco one, or I don't even know when it came out, but like I don't think it was out at the time. My dad would always try and stake like a umbrella or something if we're working out in the sun, and
Definitely.
started getting like some good hats, those sun hats or whatever it is. I have the capes and everything. Like it's I'm bad about taking breaks, but I've been better about it lately. And it's just you got to take care of yourself, dude. It's hot in doesn't matter what state you're in, it's hot. Like there's California, there's Texas, there's Arizona. It's like you got to take care of yourself. This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free.
I can be sitting on a tractor all day, and if I don't get up for a little bit, let me tell you, that heat got to me. Because as soon as I step off, I'm not making it very far. Because I'm gonna get
Yeah.
lightheaded, I'm gonna get dizzy, just like you guys are gonna take a break. It's the same thing.
Oh, and
Everybody's
I
got to
got
realize their.
those white roofs too.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and plus, there's some of those old school tar roofs still that I see people posting the videos on. I'm like, you're literally losing your shoes right now just trying to check some filters. This is insane.
Uh, we have a couple of those, and I'm like, man, those are hot, right? Like it just gets hot. And then I do refrigeration, so like that change out that I was doing the other day, it's a metal roof. It's just a walk-in box that's outside, right? And you're getting on metal. I have a bunch of those. And my dad was going up there. I'm like, dude, I had to throw him some gloves. I'm like, you're gonna burn your hands off if you don't
Yeah.
have yourself covered. So I make sure that I wear like long sleeves now too, because anything you touch, you're just gonna cook yourself.
See, I thought the whole, hey, the roofs get hot. I thought, okay, I get the sense the roofs get hot. Sun, nothing blocking you, the roofs get hot. I went out on a roof probably 2 years ago, and you said long sleeves, and that's what made me think about this. I was going up to just through the, climbing up, put my arms out. As soon as I did, the inside of my arms just got singed, and I just let go. Didn't think
Hmm.
about it, and I just went down. And then I looked
Dang.
up and I go, okay, yeah, there's a reason why I'm in the office. Okay, I get it. I didn't think about that. So I do love to go into the field when I can, but I need to really watch who's taking me into the field and what they're wearing sometimes, because I probably would have thought there's a reason it's 105 degrees and you're wearing long sleeves up here.
Yeah, because well, I mean, you got to be prepared. I've seen some
Definitely.
like I'm on Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff, and I see people, and it just goes back to your point about like different areas having different heat. Because some guys were wearing like button ups as their long sleeves and stuff, and I'm like, I would pass out in that kind of shirt, right? So like the long sleeves that I wear, I hate wearing them because I feel like I'm cooking inside too, but they're polyester. And I only wear them if I'm gonna be out on an install like all day or something or half a day. Other than that, I can't. Um, but you got to know what you're getting into. And uh, do you
Definitely.
do you go out into the field sometimes? Then
I try to as much as I can. So I've been kind of a little more calling this a career for the last 15 years. So, but I've been on the wholesale side of it. So whether
yeah,
it's been, I was wearing a Supco hat for a long time, now I'm wearing the Navac hat. And no matter what, I make a lot of friends, with you guys along the way. So if you guys have a fun job and I'm in the area, I love being invited out because
okay,
seeing, I have always have my product. So being able to be hands-on more with my product helps me personally, but also learning the everyday troubles you guys are going through. And I'm just a nerd about this HVAC stuff, just like the other guys. So I'm sitting here, I'm reading all the books. I keep most of the manuals in my bag when I'm traveling because I weird out about that stuff. I try to learn as much as I can. So my plan out of high school was to go to HVAC, get my license, run a few trucks, and that just didn't work out. Followed my dad to Ohio when he moved, and
mm-hmm.
then started actually at Win Wholesale at Win Supply, working in their fire protection department. So they had a fab shop that would build those big fire suppression system, the sprinklers that you'd see in all the big buildings. So at man, I was 19. I was sitting there in a fab shop, threading pipe, reading the diagrams, putting the 90s on, building them out, loading them on an international. and then I'd drive them to the job site, unload them, and then watch as much as I could of the install, get back to the shop, and then start another job. So I started this industry as low as you could go. I was the warehouse, fab shop, driver, but
Yeah.
I loved it. I got to meet all these old school, the guys who are running the sites are the funnest. They are always mad, no matter who it was. You could be their best friends, but as soon as they saw your truck, no matter if you were a day early with their supplies, they were going to find something. So I
Yeah.
found out real quick, kind of just, I was young. So it was fun talking back to those older guys. Hey, I got all this. And then I try to see how could I impress these guys? They're always talking to me like I'm so little. So then I try to see, let me take stuff that they didn't order, but I know they needed.
Mm.
So then I started adding stuff onto my truck and being like, hey, I noticed on your PO you didn't add this gate valve, this thread lock, and whatever it was. And the guy would always look at me and go, add it on there. You're right. I did miss that. Or, you know what? I didn't need that for this, but I'm going to use that stuff. Just add it on there. It
Okay.
was just, I tried to go above and beyond to try to be more of a help than, oh God, I'm just seeing another delivery or I'm just dealing with another wholesale house. I wanted
Yeah.
you to have a reason to go to that wholesale house because you had a different experience.
Hey man, I will say the experience or the people that you know see on a daily basis or interact with, it makes a difference. I think even Ben had asked that at one time, like, what makes you go to your supply house that you go to like regularly, right? And mine, I mean, honestly, they don't always have the things that I need. You know, they might not. You know, there might be hassles here and there, but I always go back to them because of the people there, like the way they treat
Definitely.
us, the environment. They're having fun at that one, right? They even have like music sometimes, and they used to do a lot of like little uh, customer appreciation lunches. And every time I go in there, I'm like, hey, you know, so and so, how are you doing? And they will be like, Adrian, you know, like, you know, it's a good environment and stuff. When I go to another supply house, I just get irritated because it's not welcoming. They're trying to get you in and out, or they're upset at you for something. And I'm like, I don't need this. I'll go back to my supply house, right? So that does make a big difference.
There's a big thing I tell everybody in Navac, and that anybody in Navac that's listening is going to laugh at this because they probably know what I'm going to say. Go where you're appreciated, not tolerated,
Yeah.
always. Because that goes for anybody. Go, you're going to go to a customer that appreciates the extra effort you're going to put into, that understands the brand, that actually wants to do business with you, than the guy who's just taking that meeting to make a judgment. It's the same with your wholesale house. You're going to remember that counter guy that goes the little extra mile. You're going to remember that sales guy that went and saw you at the shop that went that little extra mile. But now you're going to remember that sales guy that walks through that front door and kind of huffs and puffs. Oh, hey, what are we showing
Yeah.
today? The same old stuff. It's boring. You got to have fun with this job. So always go where you're appreciated, or your job's going to suck, to be honest. You're not going to have any fun.
Yeah, man. Like we went to a couple, even that one that event was at. I told Ben, I was like, I don't like coming to the supply house, if I'm being honest. They always tell me they can't get this or can't get that, and then they just stare at me like, okay, you know, leave now. And I'm like, my supply house. I had one that like was working on something that, because I work on a lot of older equipment and sometimes stuff is hard to find. I had somebody that at my original supply house that worked on it for a few days, and they got back to me. Like they actually followed up on me. We finally got something that might work, and you know we can discuss it, or I'll email you something. Like I
That's
appreciate that
huge.
stuff. Yeah, I appreciate that
That's
stuff because like
huge.
they could just tell me no, like the other supply house, and be like, you know, buy a new unit or buy this or whatever it is. And I'm in the business to fix things. That's mostly what I do. We don't sell a lot of stuff. I need to find parts, and that's why with my supply house, I'll tolerate the I got they that they have to order it. You know, I'll wait a couple days on them versus like trying to find it somewhere else sometimes.
No, I mean, you pretty much just answered the wholesale big question. How do I get a guy in my door? You have to have what everybody wants anyway. Now, it's impossible to do that because there's a billion brands, a different billion SKUs. If you want to have every parts and piece, you're not going to. But
No.
you can know all your vendors very well. So if someone comes in and they do got to get something ordered, have a good enough relationship with that vendor to just call them up. Hey, Brad, I got a guy that is in love with that 2CFM pump. I don't have one in stock, but I'm going to be putting an order in. Do you have one nearby? Most likely, guess what? One of my reps is local. Let me
Yeah.
get that guy his pump. I'll get my rep a new pump. Let's get this guy working. There's
Hey man, I've
always
been
ways to
seeing.
get you your stuff.
Yeah, I've been seeing. Yeah, and I told them every time I go in, I only buy like for certain, like for cleaners or for equipment, like you said, vacuum pumps. I only buy certain brands. So even if they don't have it, I'll tell them, and I keep trying to tell them like this is what I'm looking for, and then like that's how they'll know what to carry if enough guys go in asking for it and telling them they should put it on their shelf because for the longest time we didn't see any VETO Pro Pack, we didn't see any Solderweld, we didn't see any Navac. Now all that stuff is trickling in because people are interested in it, right? So like I just started seeing a Navac wall there too, so I'm excited to see that stuff now too.
Hopefully, you start seeing that wall a little bit more everywhere.
Today's episode is also brought to you by NAVIEN. If you haven't seen it yet, NAVIEN has entered the HVAC space in a big way with the new NPF hydro furnace. This hydronic forced air furnace delivers industry-leading variable capacity operation from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. You can learn more at navieninc.com. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. I have my certain brands, right? I buy, field piece. I buy, certain brands. Navac is one that I started collecting now because nobody else does battery powered tools like you guys do, specifically like,
Appreciate it.
benders, tube expanders. I have the flaring kit as well, and it just makes the job easier. So like as I get older, I appreciate these tools, right? Because before, and I've told guys, I was even that guy when I started that didn't know how to use a drill or anything like that, or didn't think I needed one, right? And I'm there taking off like 20 screws by hand with a screwdriver. And I was stubborn about doing stuff like that because I could. I didn't get tired. I was just running around doing stuff like that. Now I appreciate making my job easier, right? I'm on the roof. The other day, the stuff that I tagged you in, I just had to connect my line setup, and I took up my tube expander, my bender, all that, and it was done in like seconds. So I do appreciate that stuff.
There's a big thing that people always say time is money. Yes, yes, yes. Money is a big thing, but your time is very valuable. There's only 24 hours in a day. As you get older,
There's
your
not
time
enough
is
hours. There's not enough
no.
hours in a day.
As you get older, your time for work 5 years ago, 10 years ago, you would work 24 hours a day and do that 7 days a week. But now, family, kids, now you want to separate some stuff. So I always tell people the biggest thing is once your kids get of age, think of when they get into sports. If you
Oh
were
yeah.
able to take the flare kit is the perfect example. Use our flare kit. Why? Because you get a perfect flare every time. Now you don't got to worry about going out at 5 o'clock on a Friday because you have a leaky flare somewhere and you're gonna miss your son's baseball game.
Mm-hmm.
One, you're not gonna miss that. Two, you're not gonna drive all the way out there because that call's most likely an hour away. You're not gonna waste all that time and money in gas. And then once you get there, guess what? You gotta find the leak. You don't know exactly where it's at. There's another hour, 2 hours on the job. So right there, you just
Yeah.
wasted 3 hours when oh man, that flare tool's quite expensive. It just paid for itself right there.
Exactly. And I do that too when I go out to jobs now. Is like, especially in Texas, a lot of my, like you said, a lot of my calls are 45 minutes to an hour away.
Mhm.
30 minutes, even if it's like a close by area that, or you would what
You're
you would
lucky.
consider close by, it's still like at least 30 minutes. Um, so I do that too. I'm like, okay, I got an hour to get there. I got an hour. I give myself like an hour or two to find whatever I need to find wrong with it. Another hour back. I always do all that math in my head because like I said, Texas, we do commercial work. It's like I could be going to somewhere that's 2 hours away and then my next call is another like 2 hours the other way. So I do all that and I always, I think about the time saved doing little things like that day that I use that stuff. Like I said, the expander and the bender. I was actually trying to make it out because my kid had a birthday party to go to. And it was
Example.
it was his best friend's birthday. He's a 10-year-old. He's getting into, going out with his friends now and all that. And I was like, man, I feel really bad if we don't make it, right? So I wanted to get out at by 4 to go take him to this party. And me being a business owner, I can do stuff like that, but like I need the tools to help me get there. And like you said, and it's funny because I just did that thing for Jobber where they gave me some statistics about like the next generation, what kind of jobs or what they look for in new jobs. And one of them was, well, being your own boss, uh, great pay, this and that. Flexible hours was like one of the most voted on for them
Definitely.
because, and that's something that you can get in the trades, but that's something that is important that everybody that I've interviewed, like that's one of the things that they need or they want. That's been important to me. I know when you first start, that's where you hustle, where you put in all the hours. But like you said, like my kids are 8 and 10. These are important years for them, as far as like extra activities, the sports. Our girl is doing piano and swimming right now, all this stuff that they want to do. And I hate telling them no. So whether it's your equipment that you guys sell, the right now I'm also trying out like these mini torches that I got, like trying to save my back, save time, like all that is important.
Yeah.
And like, and it's so funny to me when people bring up price because I'm like, if you're charging correctly, this stuff pays for itself.
Really, price is a price. And that's the thing about Navac. And that's probably one of my favorite things about
Because
Navac is too.
one of the first things I purchased was that vacuum pump just to save me from running an extension cord, especially when the system didn't need to be recovered or anything. Just hook up the vacuum pump and let it go.
That thing, the amount of times that people pick up that at a show, it's the 2 CFM or even the 4 CFM,
I have
and
the
they go,
two
"Hey,
CFM.
can you get the real one out? I want to see what the weight is." And I'm like, "That is the real one." I said, "You see the oil in it?" I said, "Turn it on. Push the button. They hear it turn on. They're like, there's no way." And I always tell them, I say the same thing, and I play with this thing constantly. It's really amazing what you can do with a small pump with the proper setup. That's a big thing. You have to have the proper
it's
setup.
it's crazy because when I first got it, I think I still had like smaller hoses, and then I finally got like the bigger diameter ones, and I have not had an issue
Game
since
changer.
then. And
It's a game changer.
I pulled down 400, 300 microns, and it's usually on one battery. I do have to charge it in between uses, but like I hardly ever have an issue with that. So I got the 2 CFM, and I'm like, we'll see how well it works. I bought it. I think during the whole COVID thing, like I was like, why not? And man, it was a game changer because doing the commercial work that I do, I cannot run an extension cord or that easy, you know, so many feet away.
No,
And then like a lot of the places I go to, like a lot of their outlets don't even work. I got to set up that thing that everybody hates, the Widowmaker, and rather not have to use it as much.
exactly. No, I didn't realize how big the battery platform game was until I came to Navac. So I've only been with Navac for a little over a year, but they've always since I'm an HVAC nerd, I've always watched it, always saw what they were doing, always seen innovative, coming out with new stuff, and their prices were never bad. I'm like, okay, not bad. Here we
Yeah, it
go.
was okay.
Just started,
Yeah.
just started looking, and I'm always looking at beforehand, looking at who did I consider the legacy brands for, who was something that I've always seen in a wholesale house. I grew up in the wholesale houses. That's kind of
Yeah.
where my training was. Ever since I was born, I was in a wholesale house. That's what my dad did. He owned a wholesale house when I was
Hmm.
growing up, and then we moved to the Pacific Northwest, and he actually was number two at one of the largest national wholesale houses that are still around today. So you guys all shop at that one today, and I got to watch that monster grow. So when I look at the industry, I look at it from the wholesale side of it. I look
Yeah.
at if pretty much when I look at any product out there, I look at how could I sell it? If that was on my shelf, would it get me to walk over to it? Would I know what it was?
Hmm.
And everything Navac does, it's very easy. Just looking at it, seeing the label, seeing the box, what the heck it is. There's no questioning. It's all a new version of what you've already been doing. It's a
Yeah.
better way to do things, a quicker way to do things, a lighter way to do things.
So then, did your dad have any background in the trades beforehand, or was it all just wholesale?
So he had a place called Bray in El Paso, Texas. Some people might even remember Bray. Bray was a wholesale house that did all parts and pieces. So if you needed any parts and piece in the 90s, that's where you went. Then they went and expanded to the kitchen world, and they had something called Northwestern or Northern behind it,
Hmm.
and it was a kitchen and bathroom, kind of like a Ferguson kitchen and bath. To be honest, you walked in, you can redo your whole kitchen, your whole bathroom, whatever you needed was there. So they had guys coming in buying brand new refrigerators, GE appliances, Whirlpool appliances, whatever it was. And then they'd go over right next door, buy all their hoses, all the parts and pieces, go to the install. And then they got into the AC world. And then one day, Johnstone Supply came up to him and said, "Hey, I like what you're doing." Next thing you know, we went to the Pacific Northwest, never looked back. And he
Okay.
was with Johnstone Supply for about 14 years. And I got to watch Johnstone Supply go from a pretty, well, they've always been big to me, but I watched them go from hey, they're in here in every couple states to they're everywhere. There's a
Hmm.
Johnstone every 30 miles just about. It is a monster. So I was at a
Yeah.
ton of the openings. I know it was cool to see the excitement at these openings in the early 2000s, seeing I mean, it was a different world. You'd have an opening and you'd see three, four, 500 people in a parking lot for pancakes. And it was amazing. And I was like, okay, I see why people love this industry. Everybody's family. Yeah, you're gonna have your disagreement with some competitors. I get that. But at the
Yeah, I
end
was
of
gonna
the
say
day,
it's funny because you see them as competitors and you might argue and whatever it is, but like that's why I enjoyed when my supply house, which is Johnstone, when they would do those lunches for us, or I had a cousin that worked there at one point, and they were trying to do barbecues every now and then. When you guys sit down and you realize, how much you have in common or get to talk shop, it's a cool
yeah,
thing to do because that's when you get to know these guys that are your competitors, other times.
exactly. It's a fun industry because really everybody likes to talk a little crap to each other. It's what we do. It's just the fun about this industry. But at the end of
I
the
had I had
day,
two guys I had two guys that worked for us and they would bicker all the time. But yeah, I get it.
at the end of the day, Ashley is a perfect example. Everybody's in everybody's booth, and everybody's in very welcoming. I'll have competitors in the Navac booth, and they come right up to me. Hey, what's new? And guess what? I'm not hiding it. I'm excited to show you what I got because you don't got it. They got to come to me. And let me show you what's cool about this. Another thing I like to say is this industry has changed. You're going to be a great example of this
It's
because
changed so much.
the fathers were teaching, no matter if it was their sons or their daughters, the trade. And you would look at what the tools that they were using. And
Hmm.
the first tools that you were buying were exactly the tools that your dad was using or his granddad was using, whoever your mentor was. Those were the
Yeah.
tools you were gonna buy. But now with social media and people coming to so
That
many different trainings, you're
yeah, that's the
doing your
only
own
way I find
education.
out. That's the only way I find out about like what's new. Like, this company has this company has that. Like, I see it on
Exactly.
social media now. Because, like I said, at the supply house for the longest time, we weren't seeing these things because they push, what they're used to, or like the big names, and now you got to ask for it. So it's good to have social media, which I will
Great
always
outlet.
appreciate guys or companies like Navac, RLS, any other ones that do get that, and they do have their social media and they do it well, to get the information out there that, hey, we got this and this, makes your job easier. That's where you get the information.
You gotta make your job easier, but also you want to feel like you're part of that brand in a way also. And that's the fun thing about Navac is we talk to everybody.
Goes
And
back to that supply house thing that I was talking about. Like, if you feel welcomed by a company, or if they at least talk to you, I mean, it makes a difference.
definitely, because everybody's watching social media now, and you're going to the shop showing your dad something that you bought because you started to say, hey, if you would have had this 10 years ago, yeah, guess what?
My
And now,
dad, my dad doesn't do what I do. He does like the food service side, but
okay,
he gets excited to see like the stuff that I find, or like he actually bought me my first digital manifold, which was a field piece, and he was excited, because he likes seeing new stuff and new technology and where it's going and stuff like that. Because it's, like you said, like over even just the past, or even just my career, because I've done it about 17 years. Like, it's changed drastically.
definitely. I mean, um, so I was with Supco for about 10 years, and seeing the parts and piece industry go from when I started to what it is today is not the same.
Hmm.
Totally different. And then watching companies like I was honored enough to be able to basically rep Solderweld for a very long time, push the hell out of Solderweld. It was very fun to show off. I was the cowboy hat with the torch. If you heard the torch, that was me. And you see, and you were able to teach these young techs coming to these open houses how to braze aluminum in seconds. And their dads would be like, wait, show me that. There was a story I always remember. We're in New Orleans doing a crawfish boil, and this young kid came up to me and he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm fixing this coil." And I looked at his dad, and the kid looked like he just got out of a baseball game. He took his cleats off and was wearing open toe flip flops. I looked at his dad. I said, "Hey, I'm more than happy to show him how to use this if you don't mind him using a torch." Because he was maybe 8 or 9, still pretty young. He goes,
Hmm.
"Go for it." And I said, "Hey, this is how you turn on the torch." And he goes, "I got this." And I was like, "Okay." So I just basically, just like I would do at Ashtray, talking to you, talked him through this, did it perfectly. I happened to be videotaping, and
Mm.
we went to post it on social media, and man, we got tore up on the Supco end of it because the kid had open toe shoes and no eye protection. Didn't even think about that. So now,
Yeah.
at all times, I have eye protection in my truck in brand new boxes for that opportunity. But
Hmm.
um, seeing his dad's face light up that he watched his son just braze aluminum and he can't do that was
Yeah.
so fun.
I was like, I probably can't even do that.
And
um,
it's just all that. I mean, go to NAVAC and you teach young kids. We were at the HVAC symposium, and Brian the Orse kids came up to NAVAC and what's new? What's fun? I said, I got
hmm.
something all of you guys can play with. And they started doing the bender. They started doing the flares. They started expanding. They were there, I promise, 2 or 3 hours and went through a whole roll of copper. And I loved it because before you know it, they're running over to one of the other booths to have them weld it up for them, solder it up. And they had just a line of just circles and kinks. And they ran up to their dad and go, "Look what we did." And just a bundle of just copper. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's just getting the new age excited because what else would they have done that day? They
Yeah,
would have ran around.
I actually had a conversation with somebody recently about how he got into the trades a little bit later, and he's like, if it wasn't for the technology stuff, it might not have caught my eye. Like, he's a very, because he used to be like an audio and video production type of
Yeah.
guy, and he was intrigued by some of the stuff that we use and the technology now. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but like that. I mean, when I started, I was very hands on. I had all the mechanical stuff. I mean, I pride myself that I knew how to manually do the flare with the block and everything. Like I always got it
Mhm.
because I was taught well. I went to school and stuff. But once something new came out, I was all for it. I'm like, let me try this, let me try that. So that is how you get the new generation, whether it's like the social media stuff, making it fun, the tools that make it easy and fun. I will say you guys nailed the bender too, because I did get to try that at the when the guys came down, bent 7/8 like butter. I thought that was super awesome because I had to beat my old one with a hammer to get it to ratchet and release the pipe, and this one super smooth. So I mean I appreciate all that stuff.
It's funny that you say the bender. So we brought out a manual bender at Ashray because everybody wanted a manual one still. So we looked at the manual bender and said, okay, it's a basic crossbow. What can we do to change this idea to make it easier on the tech? And the big thing on ours is what, let's say you're doing 7/8, and I've done this to where you get to that last couple kinks, and guess what? You can't do it.
No.
You're standing on it. You're
I've used
you're
I've used pliers and stuff. Yeah.
you're doing whatever. And I've never been the huge guy. I've been a smaller guy. So I'm stepping on it. I'm using a buddy to hold my hands and step on it. However, we got it bent. And guess what now?
Yep.
That baby's stuck.
Yeah,
There is
that's what I
no
mean.
releasing it.
That's what I
And
mean, man. Like the last couple of clicks, I'm using something to squeeze it, like pliers or something, and then like you finally get the bend that you want, and then you're like, great. Now how the hell do I get it out? You got to beat it out and stuff.
so now with the Navac, all you're going to do is take the lever that you were just clutching down, push it forward. And there's a system inside that just drops. And it's going to drop
Hmm.
that pipe hard enough to where it hits the bottom of the crossbar and that pipe just clinks out. There's no
Yeah.
pink in it. And I was sitting in my shop not too long ago, and I had both benders in front of me, and I said, okay, there's going to be a reason someone's going to want this one or this one. I'm going to figure this out today. And I sat there for hours thinking, yes, I sat there for hours going zzz with a bender and click with a bender, trying to figure out how to make them different. It's going to come down to preference at the end of the day. And when you're looking at benders, I hope people really give Navac the strong look because, yeah, we weren't the first to the market with a ratcheting bender, but we
Hmm.
are the original power bender.
Oh
And
yeah.
there, there is a reason why it's this popular, and you see it all over social media. And it is something that, hey, if your buddy has it, ask them to borrow it for a couple days because by then, promise you, you'll go buy your own because it is that much of a game changer.
I know. I talked to another guy. I think it was Richie that has some of that stuff, and he worked with somebody who was very like used to the old school ways, and he would catch me like, hey, why don't you just use my bender or my whatever flaring kit, um, it definitely helps when you get your hands on it, because like I said, I saw it at the event where Navac came down and got to demo it. I didn't get to play with it too much at AHR, but I've seen the videos and stuff. It's not until you get it do you realize, man, I won't go back to the old way of doing it.
And there's
I
no
do
reason
see
to.
I do see I do like that you did the manual one because I haven't looked at the prices, but one thing would be price, obviously, but the other thing is like that battery powered bender is, it is bigger than the ratcheting one, like
Right.
significantly. So if somebody wants something compact, cheaper, I would recommend the Navac one over like
Definitely. You
other
know,
brands, other brands that I've tried. Were you with your dad at Subco?
so kind of how Supco was I was kind of taking a break from the industry for a little bit and I needed to kind of just be back outside. So I had a buddy who was needing help being a ranch hand in a way. So I went out to Marble Falls, Texas, right outside of San Antonio, basically. And for 6 months, I helped on a Bobcat clear. It was 190-ish acres, almost 200 acres, and we were taking them to 20-acre lots so they could build houses as a kind of a farm subdivision in a way. So I was out there just playing with my best friend on a bobcat, and at night we would hunt the property, play around. It was a blast. So one weekend I came home and I basically used my parents' house as storage and where I did my laundry because I lived in a hotel in New Braunfels
Mm.
basically. And was home. My dad came up to me and goes, slapped a piece of paper on my desk and goes, "Good day, sir." And I was like, "Good day, sir." That's kind of weird. He never talked to me like that. And he kind of smiled, and it was just an offer letter. And I ran out of my room and said, "What is this?" He goes, "I need you." And
Mm-hmm.
I just signed it. I didn't know who I was working for. Didn't know what I signed. For all I know, it was my will or something that he could got
Yeah.
back at me for no idea. All I heard was my dad needed me. And he's trained. I will say he's trained me, but I've been in working with sales with him for all I can remember. If I ever said I needed like gas money, he goes, "Okay, earn it. How are you gonna earn it?" "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
we'll look around it." I got a little older to where I can get online, and Craigslist just started. So I was 13, 14, and I'd look around, what could I sell? So he'd start giving me random stuff to sell. And he goes, "You'd have to get $100 for this. Well, whatever you got above it, that's yours." So
Mm.
he'd give me like a wine cooler that was just in the shop. I'd look on Craigslist, what were the wine coolers going for? I'd look for what this went for new. I'd do all my market research. And so he told me I needed
Dude.
$100. I could probably get $300 for this. So I post it, get 230 or whatever it was for it, give him his $100. I just made my money. What's next? So I did
Dude,
that
I,
with
I
him
was I was the same
ever.
way, dude. I was on that Craigslist deal, and I was real into like bartering and trading up
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. And I used to make a killing on there too, man. My mom would always make fun of me because she's like, "You're always out there hustling and we," or she would say wheeling and dealing, and I'm like, "Hey, man, I mean, I would do my research like you and like, what can I get for this? How can I trade up for it or barter it or whatever it is, and then cash out."
Exactly. And it just kind of expanded. And then before you know, every summer I did hay for all the kind of older community members that were, I was a high school wrestler, so I knew a lot of the older farmers. So I did a lot of
Mm,
their hay with my buddies and we would get paid. And a lot of the times, all they would say is, "Hey, fill our hay loft. Whatever hay's left in the field is yours." So I'd pile it in my pasture and I had extra hay to sell. So
did you say you did high school wrestling?
I did. I've wrestled. I started ever since I could basically walk until high school. I've
So
always wrestled.
you are athletic.
In one thing, I would say I could wrestle, and I've ridden motorcycles pretty much my entire life. So there was a motocross time in my life that I had a lot of fun
No,
with.
so no other sports, just wrestling.
I mean, when I was growing up, I did them all. I did the baseball, I did the football, but right around middle school is when I kind of
Yeah,
decided that I really needed to pick one. And
yeah.
I was always a really someone who excelled at wrestling. It was something I found fun. And I was that tall, lengthy guy, but I didn't weigh much. So I was able to wrap up these little kids and just win. And
Mm,
my issue was, I'll be honest, in high school, I was pretty good. And I would swing through these guys. And then I found out it was a lot funner to flirt with the girls than it was being out on the mat. So depending on, I'd look at the coach, and if we really needed to kind of get some points at this tournament, I'd go out there, I'd win. And if we
hmm.
really we were already killing it, I'd kind of look at the coach, and he'd tell me don't do it, and I'd kind of get out there and then do my thing, lose, and then I go talk to the girls because that's what exactly what I was trying to get back to. Yeah, that was one thing I look back at. Anybody says, "Do you look back at your life and want to redo anything?" I'd redo high school wrestling. That's about it. Give it a little more of my all. But
Man,
it taught
I
me
had that
in,
I had that issue too because I picked basketball, but my I had a couple of
yeah,
buddies that were real into wrestling, so I was around it. Because like you said, you got to pick one. So at one point in middle school, I was like, I'm gonna stick to basketball. I'm gonna go that way. And a couple of my like best friends, they couldn't do everything, so then they went the wrestling route. So I get that, and I also get the regret part because I was the thing at my school is that there was too many good guys. Like we were just, I don't want to say stacked, but like there was too many ahead of me that were good. So then I got distracted and I got into other things, and I was like,
Yeah.
I know I'm pretty good, but like I didn't take it as serious as I should. And I remember thinking the same thing, like, man, if I had just tried a little bit harder, I could have maybe done more with it. But I mean, here I am now, doing HVAC.
Yeah. So anytime I get I think about it once in a while, and I'll get frustrated about it, and I take that little bit of like, well, why didn't I give it a haul? And anything I do now, no matter if it's weed eating outside, whether it's trying to get Navac into somewhere new, I make sure that at the end of whatever I did, I look back at it and I don't hold anything in regret. It doesn't matter if
Yeah.
I'm even playing outside with the kids. I'm going to make sure I'm just as tired as they are.
Yeah.
I always make sure now that at least put all my heart into it, because at the end of the night, I'm going to know if I left something on the table, that's going to bug me.
That's exactly how I am with work too. It'll bug me. It used to bug me when I couldn't get something going, or I was like, man, just try a little bit harder next time, you know? Was that a job offer for Supco?
So it was a job offer for Supco, and it was interesting because I started as a territory manager. So I handled 7 states with no independent reps. So normally when you come into the wholesale world with being on the manufacturer, you'd have a state and you'd have some independent reps that were helping you manage that state. I had none. And I had in no history of Supco. I had no idea what a hard start was. I had no idea what a capacitor was. I had my basic knowledge. I understood a capacitor, what it did in the system, but I didn't understand the different sizing, why you couldn't use a 440, 370. I didn't know any of this stuff. So
I found that out the hard way, but yeah.
oh, I did too. So I flew into New Jersey, saw Supco. I was like, okay, this is nuts. This place is huge. And then I did basically a couple of days of training, and my training was sitting with someone who used to be there and kind of going through the catalog. Okay, this is why we're popular. We've been here for over 70 years. This is what we've done, and this is kind of what started. And then I got handed a plane ticket and a customer list to Denver, Colorado for that following Monday with a few Supco shirts that said "Good luck." I had never cold called to make my own meeting. I had never understood how to push a brand into a market to try to overtake a brand. I had no idea what I was getting into. So my very first call, I just took the first one off the list and said, "Hey, I am your new Supco rep. I would love to come see you. I'm going to be in town these days." Hung up. And that's kind of how my first few days went as I flew to Denver, and then couldn't get the main guy on the phone or the main lady on the phone. So I just walked to the counters, left my card, explained who I was. And at that time, think about it, I flew there. So I flew with all these samples. So at that time, Subco had like the Attic Pro. Think about
Oh
the Attic
yeah.
Pro. The Attic Pro is a big piece of metal with cables and hooks. I was taking that through TSA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try explaining that through TSA, or having hard starts, a black tube with a label with some wires going through TSA. Yeah, I had
Mm-mm.
some. Plus, I got a big beard. I had
I,
longer hair at the
I
time.
wanted to ask that, but I didn't want to
Man,
ask that.
you go ahead and ask that, because, and I'd always had my cowboy hat. So I mean, I lo- I was picked on a little bit going through the airport. So I grew the territory, became a regional manager, was able to hire some rep firms in, and before you know it, it just kind of grew. And then throughout the life of Supco, my brother owned a wind waterworks, so he was owned his own wholesale house, and
Oh.
he said, "It's time to come home." Came to Texas and was a regional manager for Supco. So at one time, Supco had my father, me, and my brother under one label, and we were having a blast.
A whole
We were
family
having fun,
affair.
the whole family affair. And then a couple years later, my brother said, "You know, life's short. I really need to do something I truly love when I get out of bed every day." And I was like, "What is it?" Before you know it, him and his best friend opened a gun shop. So they have one in Grand Junction, Colorado, and here one in Rockwall, Texas. And it's not your normal gun shop. If you think of a Call of Duty lobby and you're walking in, it's a tactical store. So I try not to visit him very often because he always gets me with the deal of the day, brother. He always gives that look. You know you need one of these in your life. So I don't
Yeah,
try to visit him very long, but he does what he loves doing. And
that's
I
cool.
stick with Supco, and I was running with Supco until one day Navac came along. But during the Supco tier, let's just talk about watching Supco grow. I got to watch Supco take on new brands like A1, Camstat, Solderweld. I
Oh
watched
yeah.
them in watched Supco invent the very first contractor tool invention program. Supco was the very first with Tradefox.
Did you
Inventor
guys have
had
a
an idea.
hand in that?
Honestly, that was all my dad. All my dad and some other people at Supco, but I will give my dad a lot of the credit for what Tradefox became.
Okay.
Because a lot of guys, a lot of these influence inventors talked to him directly and said, hey, this was my idea. And they trusted him with this
Yeah.
idea because a lot of these ideas were on napkins. They were just calls on the phone. Hey, I have this idea, and he'd write it out. Okay, I'll get back to you. And he was a safe place to keep your idea and be able to, hey, this could come to market. Yeah, this is not a place for Supco, but you know what? I have someone that to get you a hold of someone else. They could probably do it way better than we could. He gave them a place to where they didn't have to worry about that idea getting stolen because Tradefox
Okay.
understood the idea of, hey, everybody needs to make some money. It's the
Mhm.
end of the day, everybody wants to make some money. You have a great idea, and the way I've always explained it, I'm probably going to get smacked on for this, is everybody has a wheelbarrow of money. I just sold your product. This is what I'm doing. I just got it from the wholesale house. I'm going to walk straight to your mailbox. And I'm going to take some scoops and I'm going to scoop this in there. Boop, close
Mm.
up that mailbox. And then the rest is I'm taking it to Supco and I'm dumping it off. But you got your scoops. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And then they have more and more ideas. And Supco did it right because they make you a superstar. They take you and they don't just take your idea. I still get so passionate on Tradefox because I loved watching someone take an idea and then seeing their face next to their idea and watching them at shows carrying their product around with their face on literature. Just
It's
excited
cool.
seeing an
Yeah.
idea that was in their head now go crazy. Oh my God, I did this.
I think, well, I've talked to the guys at Field Piece about something that I had wanted to see on their equipment, and you guys did it, and I think another company did it, and now I'm like, I told you so, right? They didn't listen.
Exactly. No, I mean, that's why I love being on social media with you guys so much because if you have an issue with my thing, tell me because I want to know. If you love something, tell me. I want to know. If I see you
Oh,
using something a little odd, I'm going to say it and say, hey, why did you do it that way? Because maybe it's a different way I didn't know that that tool could be used for. And then it's fun seeing the different ways everybody does everything, especially Navac being a global brand, I get to watch Navac being used everywhere. So it's very fun seeing someone using the 2CFM pump sitting in the middle of Miami, Florida. And then you're scrolling Instagram, and next thing you know, you see that someone's using it way across seas somewhere in Latin
mm-hmm.
America. It's
Yeah.
wild to see. And it's fun because no matter who the tech is, it's the same thing. Oh my God, this toy worked. Yeah, call it a toy. Everybody does, but guess what? That toy works.
It was tiny. I remember when I first got that vacuum pump, I had it in my hand and I took a picture of it because it was like so small, but it works really well. Um, so then why Navac? Why'd you go to Navac?
So Navac came up to me one day. Well, it kind of worked out as the director of sales, Keith Keller, and me have always been buddies. We've been friends forever. I've always talked the industry, and I've always watched Navac ever since he kind of got on board a little closer. And I was sitting there soldering up some solder weld, selling some Supco. He was doing Navac, and I said, "Wow, what you guys have done with this brand is insane." And I just listened to what they were saying, customers, what they were saying, and I told him, I said, "This is what you guys need." and I said, "You guys really just need a guy." And I was just being, I was being a smartass. I said, "You need a guy in a cowboy hat," and just kind of joking around. And a couple days later, he goes, "I do need a guy with a cowboy hat," and I was like, "I got a
Yeah.
cowboy hat,"
Yeah.
and it was everybody was kind of surprised. They're like, "Oh, you left your dad. What happened here?" Nothing happened. It was
Mm.
an opportunity for me to take a brand and takes to the next level in my eyes is to really push another brand that is starting to grow. So I could take this Navac that's really starting to get a clinch from almost day one and watch it now go into what it's turning into this beast. Because I've been watching the wholesale market for a very long time. Navac is the only brand that I will watch someone come in with their cell phone, have my part number pulled up, show that counter guy, and if you don't have it, they walk out. They're
Yeah.
not going to hear about what else you have on that shelf. They're going to go to the other wholesaler, or they're going to find another way to get it if you don't order it.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing to me how many times I've watched an actual contractor truly walk away. And I'm like, you just lost that set. I was like, let me grab them, grab me a PO because I have one of these. Let's just get that sell for you guys. It is so cool to watch people really invest themselves into the brand as much as we do into the brand. So,
And I think people are just more aware now because of social media. Because like I do that too now. I go in there and I'm like I need this, right, this
mhm,
vacuum pump, this manifold, whatever it is I want. And if you don't have it, I'm gonna go and order it, right? I give them a chance, my local supply house, and if they can't get it, then I'll order it. And that's how I've gotten a lot of the Navac stuff before they finally introduced, the products there. Like I said, behind the counter, they have a whole area now, but I would just get it online. And that's, I wanted a few things from Navac. I can, confirm now that my van is like half field piece, half Navac. I've done some conversion over to that one. I bought my
appreciate it.
guys. I bought my guys the not the battery powered. Well, he just bought the battery powered one, but I had gotten him I believe it was like a 7 CFM vacuum pump from you guys, and he
Okay.
loved it. He just wanted a battery powered one. I was like, okay, let's go order you one. Got the free manifold that you guys do. You guys do promotions all the time too, and take advantage of that. I think we got the free battery one too.
The promos with Navac are always the funnest because we look at how could you guys get something better. So we did like, for example, the manifold. You bought a vacuum pump, you got a manifold. Now, this last one we did was Need for Speed. You bought any of the recovery machines. You got pick two free tools out of five, so you get some hoses, some core removers, whatever you wanted. So guys got to be able to actually get some of that extra goodies that they wanted just because they bought a recovery machine. But now, on the first, we
Oh,
released probably the biggest,
yeah. I was gonna ask
biggest
you about that one.
giveaway ever. And
Speaking of like you being into motorcycles and stuff, what do you guys have going on?
so August 1st, we released the Harley Davidson giveaway. So it's a 2023 Harley Davidson Nightster S. And at ASHRAE, we looked around, and if anybody was at ASHRAE and you tried to go to the Navac booth, guess what? It was shoulder to shoulders, two
Yeah.
hours before the show started, 2 hours after the show started, or after the show ended, I'm sorry. And uh, the first day at ASHRAE, we actually got in trouble with ASHRAE because we had too many people in the booth and we were blocking the aisleways, but we
Mm.
couldn't, there's nothing we could do. Before you know it, the fire marshal literally just goes, "Oh, okay," and brought people with ladders out, and people were taking pictures. It was amazing. I've done 10 ashrays. This would have been my 11th, and I have never had to walk away from my booth to get a breather. Like, okay, I'm
Man.
sweating just because I have too much people. This is amazing. And it was just a breath of fresh air almost seeing everybody in there so excited. There was nobody in there going, "Hey, I hate this. Hey, I hate this." It was, "Hey, what's new? I absolutely love this," just like you did. I bought this for myself, and then my guy was like, "I need one." Now he's
Yeah.
fully loaded out. It's it's so much fun watching people get so excited about a brand. So we looked at what could we give away that nobody would expect. That techs would look at this and be like, oh, okay, what's up, Navac?
Yeah.
And our product director was just like, black and orange is Harley. And I was like, okay, let's look
Yeah.
into this. And it was a joke for a little bit. And then the president of the company was like, no, we're doing it. Figure this out. And EU handles our marketing was like, go to the local dealership, find one. So I was like, wait, hold on. You're sending me by myself without my wife to watch me to a Harley Davidson dealership to just buy a motorcycle. So that's what they did. I went to our local dealer where I bought my bikes in the past, and I said, I got a weird request. I'm giving away this bike. Now, what is that one bike that people are walking in and they're going to go look at, and it's probably the one that they're going to want? Because everybody, when it comes to motorcycles, you're going to buy the one that you truly want. So I couldn't go in there and get the one I wanted because I would ride something totally different than you.
Yeah.
So they showed me this Nightster and explained that it's a smaller kind of a beginner bike, but you can do some upgrades to it to make it a little quicker. So I looked at it, I got on it, rode it a little bit, and I was like, this is it. Because if someone who's been a veteran riding motorcycles for 20 years, they're going to love this thing because I had a blast on it. But it's also light enough and small enough that this would be a perfect first bike. So I told them I need to dress this thing up a little bit. So Harley Davidson happened to have this Nightster special dress up kit that, guess what, was black and orange.
Yeah.
So I was like, throw that on there, throw exhaust on there. So we built a pretty, I'll be honest, it's a badass bike. And
So
I'm
yeah,
lucky
it's like
enough.
an up. It's not something stock. It's
Oh,
upgraded and
it's not
everything.
stock. It's not stock. It's got a Screaming Eagle engine kit. It's got aftermarket exhaust. It's got aftermarket seating, heated grips, navigation. I put all the bells and whistles that you could put on a Nightster on top of this thing. And I'm lucky enough that I've been doing a couple of the pictures and films for this. So that Harley's right through that door in my shop. So
Oh,
it is a
really?
real Harley. And I've had the luxury of kind of being the point man on caring for it and polishing and making sure it's pretty. So we're going to take that bike and do a road show almost. So from now until ASHRAE, all the big events that you would see Navac at, guess what? I'm
You're
going to
gonna see
be
the
there with
bike.
that Harley. We're going to have some
Nice.
fun with this thing. It's going to be everywhere. So how do you want to enter that in? Buy Navac tools. All you have to do is take that Navac tool you bought. There's a link on navac.com, all our social medias. You go in there, you just put your name, what you bought, and just show that you bought it during the dates that the
Yeah.
entries are allowed. And for every dollar you put in is an entry. So you can get some entries
Every
going real quick every dollar.
every dollar.
So every is a point. So
Dang.
we're
Okay.
keeping it easy. Keep it easy. So it's super simple to get into this.
Yeah.
And we'll probably do some giveaways throughout it, have some fun with it. But at the end of the day, at the end of this, a tech is going to win a Harley Davidson with some Navac features and some Navac gear. So that's going to be exciting. I'm stoked to be able to
You
tow
gotta
that
you
trailer
gotta do
whoever wins
a
it.
you gotta do a Navac leather jacket.
Oh, you should see this. We already got ideas for this. Now, I had fun because I told the marketing team, I was like, hey, none of my personal gear is going to match any of this. They're like, go get yourself fitted out for some new gear. And I was like, okay.
All
So, I
right.
mean, I got matching gear for this bike. It's been truly just fun building this because we built a trailer that we're going to be hauling this baby around in. That when you see Navac, you're going to know we're there. One, you're going to hear that bike because it's not quiet by any means. Two, you're going to see the crowd. You're going to know we're there because where we go, we bring the people.
Yeah.
People want to see Navac, and that's the fun thing. It's being a part of a brand that's so alive that isn't
That's
just sitting
that's the cool
behind the
part.
computers.
That's the cool part because even going like I only go to the AHR things and there's certain booths that draw crowds and it's a cool thing to see.
Now, last year at ASHRAE, we had the race with the vacuum pumps, race to 500.
Oh
This
yeah.
year, we got a few secrets up our sleeves. So definitely come check us out because there's few things that I'm personally excited for that I know that we're gonna have a busy booth again because techs like to go against other techs, and we will still have the race for 500 going because last year everybody said, "Man, I wish I had my pump. Man, I wish I had my brand." So I challenged last year. I said, "Hey, go to your brand, ask them for a pump, ask them for some oil, bring it back over here. Go for it." They don't have the big hoses, so more than welcome to use Navac hoses or the hoses that are going to provide you. Bring it on out. Bring them with you. So that's the same thing. So anybody who wants to bring anybody else's brand with us, come on. We're more than happy to play.
You're up for the competition there.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Always fun.
It's good when you don't shy away too, because I mean, let them see for themselves. Um, man, that's cool. The giveaway
The
thing,
best way to do it.
I'll try and leave the details on that or the dates for that because I thought that was definitely scrolling through my Instagram. I was like, what the hell are they doing now? Because I just saw like a bike and a giveaway mentioned. I was like, damn. It seems like you guys are ramping up too because like you guys came out with some neat products recently. Do you guys have a lot more in store, or I don't know how you guys come up with products in particular, but I noticed y'all are getting more into other because you guys were only known for certain things like you said the vacuum pump or a few other things. Um, do you guys have a lot lined up?
2025 is going to be another big year for Navac. So ASHRAE will have another line of tools, a whole nother screw of SKUs coming out, new products, stuff to make everybody's lives easier. We'll be going a little further into certain categories of tools. So there are some tools that everybody, you see us post something, they're like, "Oh man, I wish you guys had this. I wish you had this." And then I just kind of get a smile and say, "Hey, it's there. Just give it a second." Because we're big on when we build something, it goes through so many different testing cycles. Not only inside the factory, they turn everything on, they test it before it even goes into a box. Once it's actually ready to hit market, we make sure it's tested in the market. So
Like in the field?
anything, oh yeah, well, we don't.
Okay,
That's the
because
last call.
that's my complaint sometimes because I've been sent stuff and I'm like who tested this? Like this makes no sense. This part, this whatever it is, and I end up breaking a damn thing. So I'm like, I don't know who tested this. You need a real tech or in the field testing.
So in my history, whether it was Supco or Navac, I get all my products. So I have always looked at it and I said, "Hey, you need to send me two of whatever you're sending me because the first one I'm for sure breaking."
Oh yeah.
And I always kind of got the, "What do you mean you're breaking this?" Because sometimes, like for example, the Nexus from Navac's not a cheap tool, and I was like, "I'm just gonna do some rough testing." So my rough testing is getting on top of my barn and throwing it, running it over. Um, Pretty much taking this thing and doing absolutely anything to break it that's not turning it on, and then trying to turn
Hmm.
it on to make sure it turns on. So anything Navac brings out, whether it's the manual benders, I am so rough with these tools because if it's gonna break, it's gonna break in my shop.
Okay.
The NR7, the new recovery machine, that's just the size of a lunchbox. I was sitting there with it in my shop and I just said, "Oops," dropped it just right on its face, and we'll see how it happened. Because guess what? Accidents happen in the field constantly. You guys drop tools. Now, I want to make sure that when that oops happens, we're okay. So, for example, those gauges you got are in shockproof casing. Those shockproof cases, if I'm at a show, very often you'll hear a big bang because guess what? I just took that gauge set and I just tossed it. And not like a little toss. Most of the time I toss it across wherever we are. And then whoever I'm with from NAVAC kind of gives me the, "Oh, okay." But it's just to show, hey, we are very confident in what we're selling. We're not just trying to get you, "Hey, try this new product." No, we believe in this product. There's not a mentor, I guess the best way is watching everybody's shoulder. we still have techs that are recovering into a bucket. You know who you are. Um, there's
Yeah,
still we have super techs, we have techs that are passionate, and we got parts changers. You got those are all you have.
yeah.
And I really love being talking to the people like you that are really passionate, that see different ways to do something, the way they did it 10 years ago versus the way they can do it now. I love watching the old school guys doing the same thing. Hey, I brazed in this unit in the 90s, but guess what? I would have pressed it now. Seeing stuff like that is fun to see. And then being able to watch those super techs, for example, on Facebook, 'cause that's where they like to sit, just
Yeah.
commenting around. And then you go check out their jobs and you're like, oh my God, okay. So it's you really see so many different people using products. So I want to make sure whoever grabs a Navac product, whether you're as green as can be, or you should have retired 10 years ago, I want to make sure you love that product.
I know we talked about it earlier, but like it's changed. It's changed so much, and I try to keep an open mind, and I love trying new things and stuff like that. Because I just had that conversation with Curtis on nights. Like, when's the last time you used like a quartered vacuum pump? And he's like, I haven't touched it anymore. Like, he's trying to go all battery powered, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. So like that's basically how I am now too, and it's like things change, the industry shifts, and it's always constantly like evolving and stuff like that. So like that's something new, battery powered, and who knows, we might see some of these other companies try and copy what you guys have done, but that's the way that it's going. I think you guys were the ones that had the battery powered pump forever, and then like now you see other brands, even like Milwaukee doing it, you know.
So Navac was the original battery powered pump. They brought it to market, and when it came to market, guess what? Everybody looked at them and said, "Man, no way, these are toys." And then they started getting out, and then people started using them and going, "Holy crap, these things are amazing!"
I
And
saw
then,
I was gonna say real quick, I don't know if the beard is necessary to work at Navac, but like I had seen the vacuum pump from Greaves, AK HVAC, when he was on YouTube, and I love watching his videos. Andrew always had a bunch of Navac stuff, and that's what got me intrigued. And I saw you guys hire somebody else. All of you have the big beard.
all of us, a lot of us have the beards. Andrew, funny story about Andrew, real quick, was Andrew was the first contractor I ever talked to at my very first ASHRAE with Supco. I was nervous to really talk to anybody. I saw a bearded guy, and I was like, okay, he looks friendly-ish. So I walked over to Andrew, had no idea who he was, no idea about his YouTube channel, nothing. And he let
Hmm.
me, for an entire hour, bore him with Subco. I mean, down to why you use a hard start. I mean, he let me do my thing. And after it all, he goes, hey, this is my YouTube channel. I'm pretty big in this stuff. Anything here that you think that I should just say, hey, I should have this. And I just went through and I picked out some of the most basic Supco items like the mag jumpers, the stuff that in my head the average tech would need because I honestly didn't know who he was and what he was working on. And then started watching his videos, and about a couple weeks goes by, and he made a video on these little jumper kings that I gave. And after that, I was like, oh my God, I'm famous. This is the coolest thing ever. He said my name on a YouTube video. And oh, I didn't really keep in touch with him. Always watched his videos. And then Navac came around. I went right up to him and I told him that story. And I said, I'm very excited to work next to you.
Mm,
And Andrew truly is somebody that is thankfully a friend, but also a mentor in my eyes because what he's seen in the field, I will never see. So if a customer comes to me and says, hey, I have this problem, 99.9% of the time, I call Andrew.
yeah.
And he's like, dude, this is exactly what you need to do. This is the product you should suggest. And then I always question why that one versus this. He's perfect help, but he's also taken Navac to an entire another realm when it comes to training. him and Jesse Stewart run the states doing trainings for NAVAC, whether it's vacuum and recovery, A2L. They're running NATE certified escrow courses, so you can get your points and certificates by going to these NAVAC trainings. But
Oh,
the
I didn't know that.
difference in the difference in the NAVAC training is, yes, we are using NAVAC products because we are NAVAC. But we're not teaching you to use NAVAC products. We're teaching you to do the best, safest practice possible to do your job. We're taking you all the way back to the basics. So, hey, if you use NAVAC at the end of the day, thank you, high five, you chose correctly. But if you chose someone else, cool. But at least we know at the end of the day, you're doing it safe and correct. Ben Pohl, for example, HVAC
Hmm.
tactical, I bug him all the time with the most basic HVAC questions. If something happens in my house, I FaceTime him and I say, well, it's not running. I checked this, this, and this. And he goes, well, have you started here? And I was like, should I have? And he's like, yep, you should have started there. And I was like, shit, okay. And then before you know it, my system's running and
Yeah.
he'll send me a text that will be 150 Apple Pay, just joking around. But having those guys that have been in the field for so long that I can FaceTime them and just get that advice or, hey, should have done it this way. It's awesome.
Infield stuff. That's what I think we need more of. That's kind of why I do what I do. Is like when I got, because I went to school. When I got into the field, whole other ballpark, right? You see problems that you don't hear about in class. So
Yeah.
uh, I've always encouraged guys that are in the field just to show what they do because it's helpful to somebody.
So once in a while we get invited to schools, and I always bring the Power T3. So you got the flare tool, the expander, and the bender, and then I bring the manual versions of them also. So I say, hey,
Oh,
you have two ways to do this. We're going to do it the manual way first, because everybody should know how to use actual flare block. It's basic. You need to know how to use it regardless.
you'd be surprised how many don't. But go ahead.
It's kind of scary, and that's when I figured out why the flare tool was so important to the industry. Because before, I'll be honest, before I was with Navac, I was like, I can make a flare. I can make a flare better than damn anybody. I got a flare block. And
That's how I felt too.
one of the local one of the local Texas colleges did a study where they took everybody in their class, everybody made 5 flares. I don't remember the size of pipe. I think it was 7/8 to be honest. It was a big piece of pipe.
Mm.
And then they tested their flares. The average out of all the students was every 2 out of 5 flares leaked. So me being me, I was like, oh, I got this. I walked into my shop, did 5, and I was like, I'm gonna see if these babies leak. And all I did was put a shit ton of nitrogen and water, just as much pressure as I possibly could. All of them leaked. So I was like, okay, yeah, I did. I need this tool. So then I took the Navac one when I got it, and I did the same test. Not one
Mm.
leaked. I'm like, son of a gun. Okay, I get this. And
It's
that
yeah,
goes
it's that
back.
that peace of mind.
That goes back to the beginning when we were talking about time and not having to go back on a call, because going back on a call is a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to drive back, especially a
Nope.
homeowner that was already kind of too much for you, or a job that was already a little too much for you that the manager just, I don't want to go back there. Everybody has those places. And guess what? Where that leaky flare or that leaky solder or wherever happened, guess what? That's where it leaked at. So just take the extra little time, put the extra little effort in. And guess what? You don't need extra time with the Navac tools. Just use the correct tool.
Oh yeah. Definitely helps. Like I always tell people, whether it's the Navac stuff or any other you know, anything else that can help your daily job. I mean, it's worth it. And
Definitely.
I just love the technology. We've been here an hour and a half. I don't want to keep you too long, man. This always goes by really quickly. Um,
You're good.
I appreciate you for coming on, man, and sharing, your backstory and then some of the Navac stuff.
I appreciate it. When it comes to talking HVAC, especially with Navac, I can sit here all day. Navac really is a company and a product line that I have grown so passionate about that my wife now calls it my ex-girlfriend, or what she wants to be my ex-girlfriend, because literally I'm on my phone. Hey, you just got off work. Yeah, but so and so just posted this. Let me see what they posted. And she's like, get off with your girlfriends. Get off with your
Hmm.
girlfriends, ex-girlfriends. So we made a joke out of it. So Navac is life now. Black and orange, baby.
You said that you have a lot coming in the next year, so I can't wait to see what you guys
Oh, yeah.
come out with.
I'm excited. I think once you see what we have coming down the pipeline, it's not just going to be a smile, look what's coming out. I honestly think you might stand up and do a little dance because I'm that excited about this stuff. You think you're laughing because you think I'm kidding, but I think you might actually
I
drop
won't.
your phone and do a little dance.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. I've been loving the stuff that's coming out. But thanks again, man. I appreciate you for coming on, and everybody watching and listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Appreciate it, guys. Have a great one.